Hey everyone, it's Sam here, and today we need to talk about a massive gamble that Ferrari is taking ahead of the Belgian Grand Prix. While the FIA is actively investigating the safety of the controversial Macarena rear wings, Ferrari is not backing down. In fact, they are doubling down. Reports out of Italy suggest that Ferrari is bringing an upgraded, even more aggressive version of their wing to Spa-Francorchamps, and it could give them a massive 11 km/h speed advantage on the straights. Let's break down exactly what this new EVO wing is, how it works, why the FIA is getting involved, and what it all means for the championship battle this weekend in Belgium. To understand what Ferrari is doing, we first need to look at the rules for the 2026 season. Formula One replaced the old DRS system with a much more extensive active aerodynamics package. Drivers can now deploy straight mode in designated zones, which opens up the rear wing to reduce drag and increase top speed. But Ferrari took this concept to the absolute extreme. During pre-season testing in Bahrain, they debuted a rear wing design that paddock insiders quickly nicknamed the Macarena wing. Instead of just opening a flap, the Ferrari wing rotates a full 225 degrees. It literally flips upside down. When it is in this upside down position, it cuts drag far more significantly than a standard active aero wing, and it can even generate lift to make the car faster on the straights. Red Bull saw what Ferrari was doing and introduced their own version of the Macarena wing at the Miami Grand Prix. But there is a crucial difference between the two designs. Ferrari's wing is inherently fail-safe because the flap front flips shut. If the hydraulics fail, the air pressure naturally pushes the wing closed, stalling the airflow as it transitions. Red Bull's design rotates in the opposite direction. Their flap back flips shut, which generates even more lift in the split second it closes. It is a more aggressive design that offers greater drag reduction, but it comes with a massive risk. And we saw that risk play out in the worst possible way. Max Verstappen suffered two terrifying rear wing failures in back-to-back weekends. First, he crashed out of qualifying at the Austrian Grand Prix when the wing failed to close in the penultimate corner. Then, during the closing laps of the British Grand Prix at Silverstone, the exact same thing happened at Stowe Corner. The wing stayed open, the car lost all its rear downforce, and Verstappen was sent spinning off the track. Verstappen was absolutely furious on the radio, calling the situation super dangerous because he could have seriously hurt himself twice in 2 weeks. Red Bull team principal Laurent Mekies promised a full investigation, stating that the team would leave zero chance for it to happen again. Because of those two crashes, the FIA has now stepped in. The governing body has officially contacted both Ferrari and Red Bull, demanding answers. The FIA wants to ensure that these rotating wings fully comply with all safety requirements. The rules state that the wing must transition between its open and closed positions within 400 milliseconds. But even if the wing moves that fast, the FIA wants to know if the airflow is actually reattaching quickly enough to give the driver the downforce they need for the corner. Right now, the FIA is just gathering information. They are not banning the concept immediately. But if they find that the design is fundamentally unsafe, they could force the teams to strengthen the wings, or they could ban the Macarena concept entirely for the rest of the season. This investigation also puts a massive spotlight on McLaren. The Woking-based team has developed their own version, dubbed the Macarena wing, which they brought to Austria but decided not to use. They also kept it in the garage during the sprint weekend at Silverstone. Rumours suggest McLaren might finally debut their wing at Spa, but with the FIA now watching so closely, they might be forced to delay it again to ensure it meets whatever new safety directives the governing body might issue. This is where Ferrari's massive gamble comes in. While Red Bull is seriously considering removing their rotating wing for the Belgian Grand Prix because they cannot afford another crash, Ferrari is doing the exact opposite. According to reports from Motorsport Italia, Ferrari is bringing a new EVO version of the Macarena wing to Spa. So, what exactly are they changing? The reports indicate that Ferrari is increasing the gap between the movable flaps and the main wing profile. By making this gap larger, the wing can open wider and more aggressively when the driver activates straight mode. A larger aerodynamic opening means less drag, and less drag means a higher top speed. The numbers being thrown around are absolutely staggering. Initial reports suggest this new EVO wing could deliver an extra 11 km/h at the end of the straights. To put that into perspective, a standard DRS advantage in the old era of Formula One was usually worth around 12 to 15 km/h. Ferrari is essentially finding an entire DRS zone's worth of speed just from a wing upgrade. This upgrade could not come at a better time because drag has been Ferrari's Achilles heel for years. Before the British Grand Prix, Ferrari's own engineers were reportedly prepared to accept a half-second deficit to Mercedes at Spa simply because their car was too draggy for the long straights. But with this new EVO wing, that deficit could be completely wiped out. And Spa-Francorchamps is the absolute perfect circuit to unleash this upgrade. The Belgian Grand Prix is round 10 of the championship, and it is a track that demands aerodynamic efficiency above all else. The 7-kilometre circuit features massive, sustained, full-throttle sections. The blast from Raidillon up through Les Combes and the long run from Stavelot down to the bus stop chicane are exactly where this new wing will shine. In fact, the FIA has designated 5 straight-mode activation zones for the 2026 Belgian Grand Prix, concentrated heavily in sectors 1 and 3. That is more activation zones than any other circuit this season. If Ferrari really does have an 11km/h advantage in those 5 zones, they are going to be absolutely devastating in qualifying and the race. But the wing is only half the story at Spa this weekend. The other half is the battery. The hybrid systems on these 2026 cars are going to face their toughest test of the year in the Ardennes forest. Because the straights are so long, the cars will drain their electrical energy long before the braking zones. Fernando Alonso recently warned that if a driver deploys their battery from turn 1 to turn 5, they will have absolutely nothing left for the rest of the lap. And without electrical deployment, Alonso noted that the cars actually have less power than a Formula 2 engine. Managing that energy deployment is going to be critical. If Ferrari's new wing allows them to hit their top speed targets with less drag, they might not need to deploy as much electrical energy on the straights. They can save that battery power for the second sector, giving them a massive advantage over teams that have to burn their battery just to punch a hole in the air. This all sets up an incredible championship battle for the weekend. Kimi Antonelli still leads the standings, but his gap has melted down to just 25 points over his Mercedes teammate George Russell and 32 points over Lewis Hamilton. Ferrari arrives in Belgium riding a massive wave of momentum, having won 2 of the last 3 races, with Hamilton taking Barcelona and Charles Leclerc winning at Silverstone. Do not forget, Leclerc took his very first Formula 1 victory at Spa back in 2019. He knows how to win here. Meanwhile, Max Verstappen and Red Bull are lowering their expectations before a wheel has even turned. Verstappen currently sits 7th in the championship with 76 points. Even though Spa is usually one of his strongest tracks, he has admitted that the Red Bull power unit struggles on energy-starved circuits with long straights. He told reporters that Spa will basically feel the same as Silverstone, where he complained of poor car balance and a lack of top speed before his wing failed. The weather in the Ardennes is also looking typically unpredictable. The forecast is unsettled all weekend, with a risk of showers on Friday, thunderstorms possible around qualifying on Saturday, and further showers expected for the race on Sunday. If the rain falls, top speed matters less and downforce matters more. Ferrari will have to decide if the 11km/h gain from the EVO wing is worth the risk of running a low downforce setup in the wet. Adding to the strategic headache is the tyre allocation. Pirelli has nominated the C2, C3 and C4 compounds for this weekend, the middle of their range. This is a change from last year where they skipped a step and brought the C1, C3 and C4. With 3 consecutive compounds, the strategic options open up significantly. Last year, the race saw 26 pit stops across the field, and with Spa's pit lane costing roughly 19 seconds of race time, timing those stops perfectly around the unpredictable weather and potential safety cars will be just as important as straight line speed. So we have Ferrari bringing a highly aggressive, controversial wing upgrade to the longest track on the calendar, right while the FIA is investigating the safety of the entire concept. If it works, Ferrari could dominate the weekend and close the championship gap to Mercedes even further. If it fails, or if the FIA decides to step in and ban it, it could ruin their weekend entirely. What do you guys think of Ferrari's Macarena EVO wing? Is it genius or way too risky with the FIA watching? Let me know in the comments below.